Before streaming algorithms, before prestige television blurred every genre, there was a corner of American cinema where rules didn't just bend, they snapped. And in 1976, one of the loudest, strangest echoes from that world arrived with a single, cheerful title: Up. Directed, written, and produced by cult filmmaker Russ Meyer, Up was not designed for mainstream comfort. It was built as a collision of satire, shock, absurdity, and jet black comedy, delivered with Meyer's trademark speed, visual punch, and taste for the outrageous. By this point in his career, Meyer wasn't just a director. He was an institution of one. A former World War II combat cameraman turned independent film pioneer, he had spent years building a fiercely loyal audience outside the Hollywood system. He financed his own films, controlled production, and answered to no studio executives. His movies were bold, brash, and instantly recognizable. Up may be one of the purest examples of that unfiltered creative voice. The film opens with a scene so bizarre it almost feels like a dare. A reclusive man named Adolf Schwartz, strongly implied to be a fugitive Nazi living under a new identity, is murdered in a bathtub by a piranha. It's shocking, absurd, darkly comic, and completely in line with Meyer's love of provocation wrapped in farce. From that moment on, the movie unfolds not as a straight narrative, but as a chain of chaotic encounters in a strange rural town filled with eccentric, morally questionable, and often ridiculous characters. Into this world arrives Margot Winchester, played by Raven de la Croix. She's a hitchhiker with confidence, attitude, and a presence that instantly shifts the energy of every room she walks into. Like many of Meyer's leading women, Margot is written larger than life, bold, outspoken, and impossible to ignore. She isn't just a character. She's a force of nature dropped into a pressure cooker of oddballs, misfits, and schemers. Floating above the action is one of the film's most unusual devices, a narrator played by Kitten Natividad, who appears on screen as a kind of one-woman Greek chorus. She comments on events, teases the audience, and breaks the fourth wall with a playful awareness that reminds viewers this is all a show. Outrageous, exaggerated, and proudly artificial. That self-awareness is essential. Up is not trying to convince you it's real. It's a live-action cartoon filtered through satire and adult humor. Meyer piles on exaggeration until the movie becomes a parody of itself and of the social attitudes it's poking at. By the mid-1970s, Meyer had already pushed boundaries for over a decade. His earlier films had mixed action, melodrama, and erotic spectacle in ways that made them grindhouse staples. But he also had a sharp eye for hypocrisy, especially around American morality, sexuality, and repression. Up continues that tradition, only louder. The film's tone swings wildly on purpose. One moment it plays like a murder mystery. The next, it turns into slapstick. Then it veers into absurdist monologue or confrontational satire. Authority figures are mocked, villains are ridiculous, romance is exaggerated to the point of comedy, nothing is sacred. And that's the point. Meyer co-wrote the screenplay with Anthony James Ryan and film critic Roger Ebert, who worked under the pseudonym Reinhold Timmy. Yes, the future Pulitzer Prize-winning critic helped script this outrageous cult film. Their collaboration leaned into Meyer's strengths: rapid-fire dialogue, ironic narration, and scenes designed to surprise, shock, or make the audience laugh at how far things have escalated. Visually, Up is pure Meyer. Shot largely in rural California, the film makes expressive use of forests, cabins, and small-town settings that feel both ordinary and slightly surreal. Meyer's camera rarely sits still. He uses fast zooms, dramatic close-ups, whip pans, and punchy editing rhythms that give even simple conversations a sense of impact. Every cut feels deliberate. Every reaction shot lands like a punchline. His background as a photographer shows in the way he frames faces and bodies. Characters are posed like living comic book panels, their expressions heightened, their movements theatrical. Meyer understood how to turn low-budget locations into bold visual statements through composition and editing alone. The performances match that visual intensity. Raven de la Croix plays Margot with a mixture of innocence and command, moving through the film's madness as both observer and participant. Kitten Natividad's narrator presence adds a playful, almost mischievous energy, guiding the audience through the chaos with a wink. Around them swirls a cast of exaggerated personalities, law officers, schemers, drifters, and troublemakers, each played at full volume. Subtle acting is not the goal here. Meyer directs his performers like they're on a stage seen from the back row, where every emotion must be big enough to read from a distance. The pacing never relaxes. Scenes are short, punchy, and often end on a joke, a shock, or a dramatic reveal. Just when the audience begins to settle into one storyline, Meyer cuts to another character, another confrontation, another burst of heightened reality. The structure feels less like a straight road and more like a pinball machine, bouncing from one target to the next. And underneath the noise is satire. Meyer's films often mock the very impulses they seem to exploit. Up exaggerates desire, violence, and authority until they become caricatures. The film reflects a 1970s America wrestling with shifting social norms, where public morality and private behavior often clashed in awkward, sometimes hypocritical ways. Rather than preach, Meyer laughs loudly. When Up was released in 1976, it was marketed with bold, sensational language that promised audiences something outrageous and different. Mainstream theaters weren't eager to embrace it, but in drive-ins, grindhouses, and independent cinemas, it found the audience Meyer knew was out there. Critical reception at the time was mixed to hostile. Many reviewers dismissed it as crude or chaotic. But over time, perspectives shifted. Seen through a historical lens, Up plays like a filmmaker pushing his own style to the edge, self-referential, knowingly excessive, and almost abstract in its commitment to exaggeration. It's Russ Meyer turning the dial on Russ Meyer all the way up. Today, the film is regarded as a cult artifact, not because it's polished or restrained, but because it is such a pure expression of its creator's worldview. It captures a moment when independent filmmakers could still operate outside the system, crafting strange, personal movies that didn't need studio approval to exist. It also represents the end of an era. By the late 1970s, the film landscape was changing. Blockbusters were rising. Distribution was consolidating. The kind of regional, independent exploitation circuit that supported filmmakers like Meyer was slowly fading. Up stands as one of the last loud echoes of that wilder, more chaotic cinematic frontier. Some movies are remembered for their elegance. Others are remembered for their impact. Up is remembered for its nerve, for its refusal to be quiet, for its willingness to be absurd, for its director's determination to follow his own creative instincts wherever they led. It's messy, it's outrageous, it's deliberately over the top, but it's never timid. And decades later, that fearless, anything-goes energy still makes it a fascinating time capsule from a corner of film history where rules were optional, satire wore a grin, and cinema was as loud as the people who made it.